Right, so today this video is about machining these calipers. So these are AMG 4-pot Brembos off of a C63. These are for my friend Chris Chapman for his Subaru. He's got a S206, I think they are. Limited edition Subaru thing. I'm not much of a Subaru head, so do some googling and see what that is. But as you can see, I've already done one. So what we're doing, he's basically trying to fit these onto his car, but they don't. The AMG, like the C63 mounts, don't come anywhere near fitting the Subaru hubs. So what we're having to do is we're basically having to chop the stock lugs off and drill and tap two M10 holes for a radially mounted system. So there'll be a mount that bolts to these, and then that mount will bolt to the hub. So we couldn't figure out a way of making these work with the Subaru, like making the stock mounts for the caliper work with the Subaru. Basically the caliper sits too high on the hub, so you couldn't get the full depth of the pad to touch the face of the disc. So this is the only way that we can get them to sit low enough on the hub. I mean, you can see, if I put that there and I put that there, you can see how much lower that is. So yeah, that's where we're at with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this one I haven't done in the mill. We'll clock it in, get it all set up, and we're basically just going to chop these lugs flat, drill and tap two holes, and you can see on this one there's a recess. This is to basically for clearance on the hub, so I've got to put that on as well. So yeah, just should be a nice machining video for you. Enjoy. So to mount the caliper on the bed of the mill, I have two parallels with just a bit of rag on them, just to protect the paint more than anything. I mean, they're getting painted anyway, but trying to make a decent job of them. So take the clamp off, sit the caliper over the parallels like so. They sit into grooves. Obviously the Brembos have grooves, big grooves along them for where the pads bolt in. Then I've got spacer, goes on there, clamp, goes on there. Put some shims underneath the spacer just so it doesn't dig into the aluminium. Like so. Put the nut on. And then, so I've just nipped that a little bit, but we'll true the back face so that the caliper is dead in line with the beds in the x-axis. Then when we move from position to position, we're definitely not getting any variation in the hole being in the middle of this, of either side. Obviously we'll be clocking, we'll zero both flats out anyway, so that when I put the hole in, it's definitely where I want it, but it just streamlines the process a bit more. So all I'm doing, I've got the clock here, so I'm gonna touch onto the job with the clock. So I'm reading, it's at 40 there, move it all the way over to there's two pads, two straight pads on the back of the caliper, and there what I'm going to set my zero off, so I can straight away see that that needs to go that way a bit. So I just tap it over, bring it on, and that is taking a bit more, so knock that back a bit, wind it back over again, now it's not touching at all, so I'll have to bring that in, so that's zeroed. That's a bit too far again. Bit more. When you're doing adjustments like this, it's very, very fine. Fine adjustments. Just light taps with stuff to get it just where you want it. A little bit too high again. Gone 0.1 off now, I think. That was 55. This side is now 35. So I need to go to 45 this side. Split the difference. Whatever the difference is, you split it in half and adjust it by that. That's how I tend to do it anyway. Yeah, that's pretty close. Got another 5 forward, 5, 0, 5 should I say. That's 45. 45. Very, 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 very slight adjustments to get it right. Yep, that's about there. So that's the job now clocked. So we can start milling these. We'll nip this bolt down to keep everything where it should be, and then we can start milling these lugs off. So we're just going to do a touch off on this face here. It's a bit slow. Winding it up by hand till it just to say touches the top. There we go. Set my 0. So now I can set my 0 on the digital readout. So the way I did this last time was I went that way. So I milled in Y. This time I think I'm going to do a deeper cut and go in X, so this way, and see how that does. I think these cutters prefer a deeper cut, and I can get away with it on nice soft aluminium, so I may as well give it a go. So we're going to try a 5mm depth, so a 5mm down with a 2 or 3, go for a 3mm cut in Y. So 5mm down and 3mm deep, basically. See how it fares. Yeah, I think we could definitely get away with a deeper cut with this. Yep, we'll set up for another cut and I'll bring you back. Finding it hard to find a good angle for you here, but we're going to do basically a 19mm depth with a 3mm step over. See how that cuts, because that last cut didn't even feel like it was doing anything. Yeah, no problem at all. So now that we've got these flats milled on, we're going to drill the 15mm deep hole for the M10 thread. To set my zeros, I've got this piece of ground 12mm cobalt. You can probably see there it's like a ground finish, so it's really accurately 12mm. So what I can do is I can touch on to my faces with this and then move. I know that if I move 6mm into the centre of this, we're going to be bang in the middle of the spindle, because this is about as accurate as you're going to get from a piece of bar. So we'll set our zeros, touch off, set the zero. The spacing between the two holes is 77.2mm, I think. Yeah, 77.2. So we go from the inside of here, half of 77.2 outwards, basically. Well, use this inside diameter and the 77.2 diameter. Find the difference between the two sizes and go half of that either side of this step. So I'll run you through what it'll be when we're doing it, but because I can't remember off the top of my head. So we'll get it clocked, we'll get it touched off and zeroed, spot drill, chamfer and tap, and that's these done. There's a few ways that you can set your zeros. The way I'm going to do it, and I'll show you, is you wet a piece of paper and you put it on the face that you're zeroing off, or that you're touching off on, and as soon as the paper moves, you know that you're close enough to call that zero. So what we'll do, wet it and just stick it to the face. Push it on as far as you can, really, so it's right up against the face that you're wanting to zero on. Put my quill down, turn the spindle on, there we go. We'll get a piece of paper. So the bar clamped the paper, so when I pulled it, it ripped. So that's good enough for me to set my zero for the touch off. Move in 6mm, because that's half of the width of that bar. So 6mm, zero again. And I know that this shoulder is 15mm thick. Well, 16mm thick. So I'll go 8mm again, and that should be the centre of this platform. So the gap between the two platforms is 59mm, and I know that my spacing for my bolt holes needs to be 77.2. So if we minus 77.2 minus 59 is 18.2. So that gives us the difference between this diameter, this size, and the bolt pattern size. So if we half that, divided by 2, 9.1. So that tells me how far I need to go from this shoulder outwards to get an equal spacing from the shoulder to the hole on both sides, and that should equate to a 77.2mm distance between centre of M10 bolt to M10 bolt. Because with it being a brake caliper, you want everything to be absolutely cock on. For the next shop that's going to be doing the CNC calipers, it needs to be right for them. So we will move in 6mm again to the centre of the spindle, 0, and then 9.1, 0. So now I know this where this spindle is now should be exactly where the bolt hole needs to be. And to do the other bolt hole, because of my readout, all I have to do is go 77.2mm from this point to that point. So that streamlines the process a lot more than having to touch off again on this and do the same thing again, minus the 6 for the spindle and then minus the 9.1 to get us to the correct spacing. So we'll get the setting stock out. It's got a little baby centre drill. We're doing a M10 by 1.5 thread, so we've got an 8.5mm drill. And we've got a nice little chamfer tool to put a nice chamfer on to help the thread seat properly. So yeah, let's put the centre drill in and spot our hole. Spot drill in, put it into high gear. So what we'll do, we'll spot the holes. So I'll now move to 77.2mm to do the other hole. We'll spot it, check that size. As long as that checks out, we can continue to drill them. Yep, that's 77.2. Cool. Just zeroing out my quill gauge. So this hole's 15mm deep. So I've got the 0 set at the top of the, when it first starts drilling basically. Go. That should be 15mm deep. So put our little chamfer tool in. To tap the hole, recently bought this. It's basically a spring-loaded centre. So what you do is you put this in your drill holder, put your tap in, and then this locates in the middle of the tap, and it keeps it so you can basically preload the spring, and as you wind it in, it keeps it centered for you. So cool little handy thing to have, really, especially if you're going to be drilling tapping holes manually. It's definitely a good little bit of kit to have. So you just put it in your spindle, like so. Get your tap. You have to go lower. Borrowed this rather nice, what is it? Presto tap from Elliot. Tap wrench, should I say. So you see how it preloads? So all I have to do is lock my spindle off, and that is now perfectly centered the tap in that hole. So we get some tap fluid, and we can just gently start feeding the tap in, and as we feed it in, this spring loaded centre will stop the tap from walking off. See, it's come out with it now, so I wind the centre down again. There we go, that should be the bottom of the thread there. Yep, nice hole, nice perfectly tapped, perfectly straight thread. And there we go, all finished. So we've got the two M10 holes, the reliefs for the caliper to sit down onto the hub. So we've just got to get it taken out the mill, get all the edges deburred, and yeah, it's ready for Chris to send off to have his mounts CNC made to adapt this caliper to fit his car. So we'll get this out the mill now, and then we'll finish up. Well, that's them all finished up. Very nice little job. It was nice to be able to machine these quite high-end calipers and get them really quite bang on. I'm really happy with how they came out. All the sizes are perfect, stuff like that, so can't ask for more than that really. Surface finishes came out pretty good. So yeah, we can get these over to Chris now. He can send them off to be for the CAD CAM CNC mounts to mount the caliper to the car, and then yeah, hopefully we'll get the car on the channel at some point, and I'll show you the calipers installed on the car. But yeah, for this video, that's going to do it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.